Here's 1986's Roland S50. So that means today we are talking about sampling. And this thing came with a fuck ton of discs. Look at all those. So those of you who know this synthesizer know that you do need a disc to start the machine. It will not load anything without a disc in the drive, which is unfortunate because disc drives break. But look at that big display, much better than the FZ Casio that I have. And on the back, you can see this thing actually hooks up to a monitor if you want, and you can use that for sound editing, which is pretty darn cool. And you can see it has a whole bunch of outs. Now, my favorite sampler is still probably these Casio SKs. They're just super easy, fun to use. They're super lo-fi. And the Roland S50 is also kind of lo-fi. It's a 12-bit sampler. I think it does 30 hertz max. So still pretty low end. And if you're trying to recreate sound today, this work, having a disk drive and having this big old clunky thing like that's 40 years old is really dumb. You can use Ableton Live's sampler. It's fantastic. Does everything you want, and it's much faster. But here we're going to look at some of these discs, and there's so many of them. I know a lot of these are part of the Roland library. Some of them are not, but we'll have a look and see how all this goes in. So I am going to select this disc. I'm going to put it into the drive, and we'll load it up. So now I've put that disc in the slot of the drive, and it's showing me the S50, and it does this countdown from like 71. And the only thing I can say is, "Say, woman, take it slow. You gotta watch that timer go down. With the S50, you need some patience." Sorry about that. Another thing I'm sorry about here is the inclusion of the Alpha wheel. I know it looked cool, and it was like, something from the Alpha Juno, another synth that I don't really love too much. But it's here and it does some things. Unfortunately, I have a big problem with this guy because it feels like somebody spilled a drink on it or something, and it is gonna need to go to the shop because all of the buttons that you would want to use to actually perform a sample are dysfunctional. The Alpha wheel itself works, but without any of the buttons to scroll through the menus and do the editing and set up your sample, it is like kind of pointless. So we are going to take it to Werkstatt Matlack, and if you don't know who Michael Matlack is, he's like the king of all Rolands, at least here in Germany. Now we're hearing why I like this synth so much, or the sampler, whatever it is. That low end that comes out of these kind of lo-fi samples are really pretty like raw and just have that cool like late 80s, early 90s industrial feel when sampling was like really hot for adding two songs, not like ripping entire songs like they do today. But really, I can't get enough of it. All right, let's try another disc out of the big puddle of discs that we have over here. I'm going to put this guy in, and unfortunately I can't even load without restarting the whole sampler, so that's what I'm doing. And here we'll load it up again. Don't worry, I'm not going to sing to you this time. In fact, this may be even more triggering. This disc is called Erotic Voice Tanja. And let's move on. This disc is called Psycho 2, and for all of you out there that are watching me upload these discs, I do know that there's a USB way to do this, and probably something that I will swap out at some point after I've exhausted all these discs or broken the thing finally. But yeah, like I think the sound library from Roland, all the discs that you could get are pretty well represented in the collection I have. I'm sure there's way more, and I will probably spend my time making lo-fi samples myself. Now this one is just called Rap, and when I think of something from the late 80s in Germany, ich bin rappin', Deutsche rap, one of the worst genres ever. So interesting to hear what's on this. But I kind of like this. These sound really cool. You got to pray just to make it today. That's why we pray. And this disc is called the E-Max, so it's probably, samples from the E-Max strings. And totally excited to hear these because they probably sound great. That's kind of what I want my 12-bit samples to sound like. Obviously sound like a sample. They're pretty overt about that. But I think they sound cool, and the low end is, really kind of like rough and grainy. It's a little bit, it's certainly not accurate, but that's like single sample versus multi-sample, I guess. So I paid next to nothing for this one, so I don't feel bad that the sampler itself doesn't work. I'm going to bring it over to Werkstatt Matlack at the end of the week, and for a little more than I paid for it, I can probably get it fixed, and then we'll be in business. I hope to actually bring you on that adventure to see his workshop and see all the goodies that he's working on, because it's usually pretty awesome. So do like and subscribe for more. I will be trying to resurrect this machine and actually get into the sampling side of it, because that's really fun. Bye.